Hello, this is Aaron Klein. Sorry, my hair is a little bit of a mess. I haven't taken my shower yet today. I'm about to get ready for work. I've been trying to pinpoint down the right context for Genesis because there's a lot of stories. We have a web of stories across the West, and if we just look at Genesis, I shouldn't say Genesis. I'm specifically going on about Genesis 2, the fall. Um, we are if we're going to be having if I'm going to be trying to um detangle the web of modern Christianity, I need to start with stories that have very distinct relevance to the stories that I need to start with stories that are like nearly um that have resonance, that highly resonate, and that follow the same beats as the stories within the Bible to help us understand the context. And I'm probably going to I think Genesis has um the most extensive body of work generally around it. Um, I know that is that's not saying a whole bunch, but the implications aren't apparent when I say that. So I'm going to start with one story and try to describe why I think we've not quite understood Genesis very well. Because no one does this, right? Like, everyone's so involved within the Bible that we aren't looking at the ways it's spread out and sprawled around. We haven't looked at the roots it's projected down into our culture. Yeah, my hair is an absolute mess, but this is fine. I don't care. So I'm going to start with the first story that I am almost certain is directly connected. And there's going to be a whole bunch of these I'm going to say fairy tales that are directly connected to Genesis. And they all have a little bit of a different flavor, but the goal is to try to create a massive we want to create a genealogical map of the stories that underlie our culture, how they how we how they got there, and what context they derived from their origin story. So Genesis 2, I will start with 15 and I'll probably read down. No, I'm going to start way down. I'll start with 15, but what's going on is I have it open on my computer screen. So I'm going to try to read and I'll try to be fast. We'll start with 2:15. And the Lord God took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and take care of it. So, for those of you who don't understand the etymology of Eden, it's basically the garden of pleasure. There was no need for humans hadn't experienced any amount of trauma's an overused word, but they hadn't experienced any amount of difficulty yet. Um, I will be direct. I'll be directly tying this to Sleeping Beauty, by the way. By the way, funny enough, the if you have read my book, the one of the main um, underlying characters that pops up here and there is Aurora. Oh no, did I change it? No, I didn't. It's Aurora, which is funny. I didn't intend to do that, but I I think there's a good reason why my brain did that. It should be Aurora, yes. I haven't looked at the book lately. Um, I should know that because I've been working on the second book. Anyways, there's a funny direct connection there. So, I'll just read. So, verse 16 now. And Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat of any tree in the garden, but you must not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will certainly die. Okay, so this is where this gets a little fickle. I'm going to draw your attention to a very similar idea here, and like it doesn't seem directly like it got mapped out, but you'll be able to understand where this is coming from. In Sleeping Beauty, one of her birthday parties, Malevolence shows up uninvited and warns the parents, because you didn't invite me, I will there will be consequences for this. So this is sort of like God saying to his children, I'm not going to invite the parts of the world in that you should be exposed to. I think this is like, how do I put this? Is God flawed? No, I think there are narrative reasons why God doesn't do things with the sole intention of letting us learn. I think he probably didn't want us to learn it yet. He didn't think we were what's the word there? Mature enough to understand it. But I think you have to let them experience. I think you have to let. This is where I'm going to say children. Adam and Eve may not have been born, but they still had the minds of children at this time. In fact, they could even have been children. God could have been raising them himself. Like, just theoretically, I don't know. I don't really care. But this is a direct line of they clearly had to start from scratch, like a child has to start from scratch. So, God told them as children, don't eat of this tree. This is why I don't think it's sin. I'm saying this is like a warning. He's afraid of letting them experience this yet. You know what I mean? Like how you don't want your children to you don't want them to go into a war setting. Sometimes war comes to them, but you don't want them to experience that too early. The issue is sometimes if you don't let them see tragedy or malevolence in the world, they will be traumatized when they do finally get to it without proper exposure. In fact, the ultimate, this is one of the things Jordan Peterson harps on, the proper treatment to soul-shattering fear is exposure. You don't become less afraid, you become more brave. So actually, and this is like a mental immune system, you actually need to expose yourself to, you need to expose children to these things in small doses when they're younger and gradually increase it, which is what we failed to do in the last 60 years. This is why so many people are fucked up. Yes, I swore. Because our parents have failed to adequately expose us to trauma and malevolence. A little bit at a time creates a good immune system for when it really happens, when the real world hits. It's why so many of my coworkers just suck at managing their emotional states. I'll continue. I finished 18. The Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature, it was it that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and all the wild animals, for Adam had no suitable helper was found. Oh, I added a word. For Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall asleep, and while he was sleeping, on and on and on. I'm going to skip down a few. Oh, really? So that was the commandment. That was the setup. Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say, 'Must you not eat from any tree in the garden?'" So this is an equation, like this is equivalent to the same setup. This to the parents keeping Aurora away from any spindles, right? Because the most she finds one eventually, feels like you can't keep them all out, she pricks herself and she goes into a coma. This is the exact same thing I was talking about. The trauma, it's not a trauma response, or maybe it is. If you don't have a correct mental immune system set up for tragedy, then whenever the snakes come out, you will lock up and you'll have a trauma response. Your immune system won't know what to do, so it's going to overreact, and you'll have basically an immunological effect happen after the fact. That's what you should see trauma as an autoimmune response mechanism to a to an unforeseen to an overreaction to the unforeseen. That's what I'm drawing from Genesis. So the snake is here. God did his best to keep the predators out of the garden. That was the wrong response, and that's why this is more so a myth. My friend is going to hate me for that one every time I say that word. That's why this is more so a myth and or a fairy tale. It follows the same beats. God warned them something that he tried to keep out of the garden, gets in anyways, and they are naive. That's a word that's also used for immune cells, by the way. Naive immune cells are what's the wording here? It's been a little bit since I've taken biology. They are exposed to antigens, and they create antibodies for them. So in that same way, if you have a naive immune system to a very, very, very real threat, it will overreact, and sometimes the reaction is what kills you. This is actually what happens with overreactive allergenic responses when people go to anaphylactic shock, because the immune system doesn't know what's going on, and that's just like a severe, like that is a failure of that person's immune system. Anyways, I'll keep reading. The woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it, or you will die. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food, and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Now my one issue with this story is that it's actually the parallel story is actually like a mirror. Instead of going to sleep, you wake up. It's weird because actually the entire time there is no awareness. This is like this is why I'm saying it's an immunological response. This is the psyche's immunological response to experiencing and understanding what evil is. And you can just like look at this like plot points. You see a predator kill something, you see a snake eat a mouse, even if it doesn't eat you, you now understand, you can watch that happen and analyze it and understand why the snake, or how the snake did it. And for children, that is like, if they haven't been exposed to that kind of stuff yet, they're not going to understand how humans predate on each other. And just this is where Jordan Peterson's like deconstruction just completely undermines. It's not undermining. He completely flattens the divine and allows itself to build itself back up, but it's very much different. The idea of understanding good and evil is to understand how you can hurt another person, and how that affects you, and how other people can hurt you. That's how he flattened it. But I think I'm reshaping this to a much more, like, in comparing it to Sleeping Beauty, the better way to address this is it's an immunological response. And if you're not exposed to it when you're younger, when you get to be an adult, you act batshit crazy at small things. So that's how crazy white women who go through universities start screaming about a white man who's just out walking around oppressing them, right? Like, you've seen those batshit crazy videos of these performative, like, barely out of high school girls screaming about oppression, screaming about patriarchy, screaming about all sorts of shit. They don't understand nearly enough information to understand that the vast majority of people that they're going to interact with, in fact, basically all of them, you're almost never going to meet a patriarch, are just normal everyday people. The Ben Shapiro's of the world seek out the attention and go and combat these people because they get off on it. And the Ben Shapiro's of the world get paid by the patriarchs, by the patriarchy, by the oppressors to come in and do this stuff. And it's to inflame these people. It's to make it a culture war. It's not really a culture war. It is an immunological response. Some people are having too high of an immunological response. Some people are having it too low of an immunological response. Or maybe they see themselves as part of the virus and they don't understand that they're profiting off something wrong. Like, just straight up, I'm not claiming anything about capitalism with that statement. That what I'm claiming is that Charlie Kirk, when he started getting donations and stuff, he probably didn't understand that, like, he was probably doing the right thing. What he didn't understand is that, like, he got raised in a culture where it wasn't seen entirely as wrong for people to make trillions of dollars. And it's not technically wrong to allow people to do so, but the current surrounding atmosphere that allows people to make that much money has been manufactured. Okay, sorry, I got interrupted. I can finish reading. I'll go and finish reading the Genesis account here, and then I will give a short little narrative structure to Sleeping Beauty, and then I'll let you like decide if I'm like on the right or wrong page here. Because remember, I've also said that Genesis 2 and 3 is almost the exact same story as Pandora and her box. It wasn't earned to begin with, but we made a box, and it works fine. It holds the exact same story structure, exact same information. It just modernized one of the small pieces. Anyways, I'll finish reading Genesis. I'm in, what, 6? Oh, shoot. I was in 6. I'll go ahead and reread 6 and keep going. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. And the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made covering for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" And he answered, "I heard you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman put here with me. She gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You are to crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the day of your life." This is where I'm going to paraphrase Paul Van der Clay's claim and ask, what was man made of? That's not even paraphrase, that's just callback. He's actually made that. I forget which video it was, but that's an important question. What is man made of? And then Genesis 3:15. I'll put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers, and I will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. That is a direct hyperlink to Christ. To the woman he said, "I'll make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat food from it all the day of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field." I'm going to pause here from reading. These are basically the consequences, but actually this is where like you have to like read between the lines a tiny bit. You can actually like, it's like almost peering through. The veneer is so thin that you can see that there's actually like little patches where it's been worn out, that you can see the original grain underneath here. This is a call to hunter-gatherer societies moving to crops, to grain, not grain specifically, but to farming. There's something about men seeing evil that they decided therefore to move into farming. We probably don't entirely know why, but there's definitely been evidence that all around the world, right around the same time, all the humans moved to farming within like 1,000-year period or so, and it was probably some sort of natural disaster, and they got creative, or they've seen it and they'd probably done a little bit of it. they've been planting. They probably found things that they planted and moved it closer to their house just for like convenience, and they tried it, and then like something catastrophic happened, and they just had to go full force, moved. They probably had to move out of forest or whatever and move on to like plains, where they would cut down the grass to make sure there's no snakes or animals coming in, and be able to see intruders, and then lay down fields. That's probably what something along those lines. There's something that happened naturally that forced them out, and convinced them to move into a farming lifestyle, because that's what ends up being Cain and Abel's traditions. One's a herder, one's a farmer, one is a herbalist, just a general farmer, a planter. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go down to Genesis 3:21. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So this is actually like something a little bit different. This is actually more so of a claim that the more hedonistic and the more earthly material you are, the much this is the same claim as Jesus saying, it is harder for a man of great wealth to travel through the eye of the needle than it is harder for a camel to travel through the eye of a needle than for a man of great wealth to enter the kingdom of heaven. It's very much, this is a direct parallel. That's the second half. The first half, I'm pretty sure this is where God, also as a consequence of all the fallout of Adam and Eve eating of the tree of knowledge and good and evil, I'm pretty sure one of the consequences is God forced us to take on identities. Yeah, I know that sounds weird, but like if you start listening and watching and reading Jonathan and Matthew Pascoe, like it's almost definitely one of the consequences that we've, for a very long time, as part of our religious frame machinery or code, as part of that we've had the ability to have used for a very long time identities. And most people build them when they are children and just build on top forever and ever and ever. And the consequence of that is when you ask someone who they are, one of the things they tell you almost without needing to be asked is what they do, because we have such strong identities that like they are part of us. And in reality, like, you're not your identity, actually. You have a name, but that was given to you sort of by choice, sort of by chance, sort of by choice of your parents. You had no claim to that. You have, what are you really? You are a job. You have responsibilities. You have some flavors about you that are personal, that can't be explained explicitly by your identity, other than the life experiences you've had. What are you? I actually posted a video asking that question. But part of what's going on in Genesis is, as a consequence of us seeing the failures and tragedy of reality, we've chosen to take on identities based upon our religious substrate. We use that as a framework, and then we manage to create characters like cloaks to be able to function within a society. For those of you who don't know, the only way we build societies, is if we have well well, like very similar or identical religious worldviews. Um, like that's the only way societies function. We're seeing that with multiculturalism, that our societies are starting to fall apart, and that's because Islam is not Christianity. Buddhism is not Christianity. Christianity is not Christianity because Eastern Orthodoxy is very, very far away from Catholicism, which is also very, very far away from the Protestants, which is also very, very, very far away from Western, the Western stuff beyond that, the more so evangelical style Protestantism, um, which is all very different from like what I believe, because like my belief is God tends to manifest himself in reality from time to time, roughly every 2,000 years, which is why we are in this major social upheaval, and like Revelation is like here, and it's like I don't think it's ever going to match up perfectly, but I think we like shortened the time of Revelation by like rapidly expanding our technological framework. Um, but I think God may manifest himself again, either through someone or as himself. I don't think he's coming as himself ever again, but I think he's probably gonna like move people. He's gonna have movements that are going to reshape Christianity more towards his likeness and reshape us in that same way. Um, I will. How about this? I'm gonna stop it here, and I'm gonna re-listen to this to make sure. This is a reminder to myself and to you that I am going to find a copy, an original copy of Sleeping Beauty, of the original story, and I will just do a straight up reading of it, just for your all's sake. If you like my voice, you can listen to it. Just free audiobooks, something like that. Um, Thank you all for your time, and if you if you actually like my content, please share it. It's like I know this is mostly all unscripted, but I tried to draw some parallels, and I hope you could see some of them because I think that the Sleeping Beauty story is a direct derivation from the Garden of Eden fall. I don't think it's a fall. I think it is a narrative that holds so much depth within it that it shapes most of it. It's part of the shaping framework of our core worldview as Christians. And the more you study the stories that are derived from it, the more you understand the core ideas at the center, which is why like the Bible, like the reason why the Bible is cited so many times and the reason why it's such a contested book is because it's so dense. Yeah. So please share my content. Please like it if you enjoyed it. I would like my channel to grow some. Thank you for your time.